No, he's not done. He scored some bangers this year.
Didn't he go to England for a bit?
Jacqueline.
Yeah,
I just love that guy. That guy had the best fucking name. Emmanuel Jacqueline.
He had a good
He's
season.
a good little guy, man. I like that guy. Yeah.
Him and Parolo were the guys that Conte just fucking, he ran them to the ground, those guys.
Bro,
Well, like, he was,
sick, man.
I remember he was in the EPL for fucking Sunderland or some shit.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yo,
Yeah.
Prolo's nasty, man. He's a guy that runs
I hope that.
crazy.
Well, he's Lazio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lazio's midfield. It's
So you have
incredible.
You have a guy like Parolo with Jorginho and Verratti beside you. That's the team that can. They have a team that can make the quarters, semis easily if they really wanted to. With a good coach.
I remember the style defense usually wins these tournaments. That's why I don't like the Argentinians' chances based on that fact alone.
Yeah, but they actually have some good center backs. They have some good players in defense as well. Otamendi and they have Federico Fazio from Roma.
Well, he's not a world beater, but I think that he's good enough for any
Spanish
game.
fucking 6-1 them like a couple months ago. I don't know. We'll see.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll just go through the groups. Then when we're done with the groups, we'll go through the dark
Well, I
horses.
mean, the dark horses and like who you have
You want to use this
winning
thing?
the golden ball and what all like whatever.
Oh yeah, what is it? Golden ball, and there's a young player, right?
Young player of the tournament, I think it is.
Wow. He's a young player.
Didn't
Gonzalo Guidzo, that's for sure.
is it Mueller or Ozil that won it back in the day?
Mueller, I think Mueller definitely won it.
Mueller.
I was kind of stunned that the Germans didn't bring Leroy Sané.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Now that I was
We could
pretty,
talk about stuff,
I was
so.
kind of worried.
Alright.
Here we
There we
go.
go. All right, guys, welcome to World Cup edition. We're going to do here a little on the block special. Igor Henriquez, Dan Salvatore making his return, and Joe Rafario. Okay, guys, let's start with Group 1, Russia, Saudi, Egypt, and Uruguay. So, obviously for Egypt, is Salah going to play game 1?
I don't know, again, that dislocated arm, that shoulder that he got during that little incident with Ramos. Again, I would say that he's in doubt for the first game for sure. Which again, to me, that might be a bit of a problem because that might be what decides the group based on that they'll play Uruguay first, which is always good. I always find that you should always play the toughest opponent first because that kind of sets the tone and gets you right on point right at the beginning. So yeah, to me, that's going to be a big factor. I mean, to me, they're not favorites to win the group even with Salah, but to me, he's definitely a difference maker.
Can they advance if he doesn't play a game? Do you think they can?
Well, I mean, like the Russians aren't anything to write home about. The Saudi Arabians aren't either. So you never know. Russia again being at home, you would figure they would have an advantage, but they haven't been great for the last couple of years. An aging squad. Kurzakov's not going to play. That was their best striker. You would think they would have some momentum, but give and take, it's one of those tournaments where you don't really see the host doing a heck of a lot.
I think he plays. I mean, you kind of have to. It's a World
It's a
Cup.
one-man team.
Yeah, I kind of had it out for him for not finishing the Champions League final. To be honest with you,
They with a dislocated shoulder.
The guys that played worse, it's the Champions League final. You play. You go through the pain. That's just me. But anyways, in terms of can they make it out of the group, Russia, Saudi Arabia, I think has no chance. Honestly, they should just. I think they'll put up a fight. I think they'll lose every game.
They're big and
2-1,
physical. They're big and
2-1,
physical.
3-1 max.
The same. I think Iran did that with last World Cup, right?
Okay,
they
well,
competed
again,
in every
the
game.
Saudis are going to play defensively. It wouldn't stun me
Yes.
if they get a draw out of one of those teams.
I don't think they win a game. I think they go out at 2-1 or 3-1 or 1-0, 2-0. Does Egypt have a chance? I don't think you have the supporting cast for Mo Salah. And he doesn't have the players he has at Liverpool or the system he has at Liverpool.
That's true.
Like, you don't know what these guys have. Although, if you look at history, they've won the African Nations Cup probably 4 times in 2 or 3 in a row. But every time they won that, they failed to make the World Cup as well. This is their first World Cup appearance in God knows how long. I can't see them beating Uruguay. Uruguay is way too deep of a team. They've been here so many times. And it's hard, it's very, very hard to go against the host nation. Generally, they always do well. Always. Minus some flips here and there. Austria and Switzerland being the last time that didn't happen. But, and South Africa. But I just see they have too much firepower in midfield and the home support, opening game. I just can't see a way that they can't make it. So for me, I have Uruguay to top the group and Russia to come in second place.
Really,
Yeah.
So you go ahead.
So group predictions for me, I do have Uruguay coming in first, but I am going to go with the Egyptians. I saw the Egyptian team. They played Portugal in a friendly recently. I was actually pretty impressed with them. Elan Mandy's not a bad player. I forget where he's playing right now. Good little player in the midfield. Really stout defensively. I think we beat him 2-1 based on a couple of like late Ronaldo goals, like headers and so forth. So they were a pretty stout team. That was in Portugal. So I think it's a team to watch. The Russians, I saw them at the Confederations Cup last year. They didn't do again. Then they were at home too. They weren't great. To me, it's an aging group. I would think that again. I think Egypt will have enough to beat them in a game. If Salah, to me again, it depends if Salah. If Salah doesn't play, I'll agree with his point. But to me, having that game breaker ability, I think Salah can get him a win with a couple of goals. So I got the Egyptians coming in second.
But don't you think there's too much pressure on the guy? Like we don't know if this guy's a one season wonder type thing. He's a great player, a good player, but is he an elite player? I know we have this conversation.
He's in form, right?
We have all this conversation all the time. I don't think he'll put up those numbers next year. I highly doubt it.
Possibility.
And I
mean,
can't.
if you look at his numbers from when he played for Chelsea, when he played for Roma, it definitely didn't equal out. Some guys get into a system where they just thrive under.
But it's tough to score that many goals in the Italian league, right? Like you're going to score goals in the English league.
Well, again,
but Chelsea still didn't do.
Well, he was also very.
He was 2 years younger too.
Yeah.
He was very young. I think he was 19 years old at Chelsea. The guy's only 25 years old, something like that. Which is crazy.
I think he maybe 24.
24, 25. I think he became a better player playing in Italy. I just can't. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe he will finally prove me wrong next year and do something. I think that if the only way I'll see him actually becoming a better player is if he leaves Liverpool, but that's a conversation for another day. Everything rides on him in this group for Egypt. I just don't think he's gonna do it.
Okay, well, I have Uruguay winning the group, and then I ended up taking Egypt just because Russia always disappoints me. Like they don't score goals. Like they're just not very good. Every World Cup or Euro that they happen to be in, they're just not a good team. I don't see Saudi Arabia scoring enough goals. And for that reason, I'm going to take Egypt going second. Even if they have Salah for a game or two and he's not 100%, I just think that just due to a lack of competition in the group, I think that Egypt just sneaks out there in two. We'll move on to Group B here. So we have Portugal, Spain, Morocco, and Persia in this group. Iran. Prince of Persia. So, okay, now we'll start with you. Who do you like? Because we know who you were like. So.
Hey, I'm being unbiased as best as I can.
We're going to jump in.
I can't see Spain not topping the group. It seems pretty straightforward to me. Spain and then Portugal in second. I wouldn't want to play Morocco, to be honest with you. There's something about the team itself. It's the first World Cup in, I think, since 1998 or something. Don't quote me, but it's been a long time. They actually have a very good core group of players. Mehdi Benati in the back. They have Younes Bahanda at the front, who won the French League with Lille a while back. They're a strong group. Even in their qualifying group in Africa, it was a very tough one. They're one-off games. Anything can happen. But I just see Portugal sneaking through in second place. It's not like the Euro, they can't sneak in third place this time.
Lamar's not doing this time.
You got another devil on the shoulder for me.
But realistically speaking, you've got, Spain is the qualifying group that they had. Like, they had a tough qualifying group with Italy, which I don't want to talk about. And who else was in that group? And Armenia and some other teams. And they went and they beat everybody, minus Italy in Italy, but I felt like they deserved to win that game. It was a soft.
What was the score?
It was 1-1. But they went at home and they thoroughly just thrashed the crap out of Italy. So I can't see them not finishing first. I think they go into the group they go out of the group undefeated, 9 points straight. Then you have Portugal just literally has to beat Iran and hopefully beat Morocco. That's it.
Yeah.
I think if you tie Morocco,
problems.
That's
tough.
That's a tough one. You have to beat Morocco. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure they're safe to beat Iran, and they're going to be safe that Spain beats Iran. But that game, Portugal-Morocco, is what's going to decide, obviously, the second place game. Or even the group in general, to be quite honest with you.
Because maybe it buys points for Morocco or a little bit of time.
Yeah. Morocco ran game, and at this point, I think Morocco obviously could beat them. Then again, there could be a tie in that game too. They could just show up. But I think the game, obviously the opener is a big one. I'm leaning towards Spain because opening game, Spain, they're my favorites to win the whole thing, to be quite honest with you. So
is that Spain-Portugal game 1?
Yes.
Spain-Portugal is game 1, yes.
Saturday at 2 o'clock.
Friday.
Oh, the Friday at 2 o'clock. Sorry, my apologies.
Oh, so 2 Fridays from now, because this
No,
Friday.
no, just Friday.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
This Friday, I thought it was just the Russia game by
No,
itself.
no, it's Thursday.
Thursday is
It's
the Russia
Thursday.
game,
Sorry,
right?
I mixed up the days. It's
Okay.
Thursday that one starts.
Yeah.
Friday's the next game.
So, yeah, I've got Spain top of the group, and then I'll go for Portugal in second.
You going to?
So again, I'm partly biased with this.
Yeah.
I'm actually clearly. So I'm in terms of the group, the Spanish have to be the favorites. No, there's no doubting that. I'm glad that again the Portuguese we have them first because the Spanish do tend to first games usually they tend to start a little bit slow. I think a lot they'll look upon like the Morocco-Iran game will be first off. I mentioned this upstairs. Looking at that result, I think will affect how the teams play. It wouldn't shock me based on how last time that the Portuguese played the Spanish, the games are usually always very close. I think we lost 1-0 during the Euros. It was like a 0-0 into penalties last time around. The games are always super close. There's potential to me that the group might be settled on away goals in terms of goals for, goals against. That could be the difference. In terms of the Moroccans, I'm a little bit concerned in terms of Portugal plays better against teams that open up a little bit more, like the Dutch and teams like that. Teams that tend to kind of park a little bit. The Portuguese tend to have a little bit of trouble breaking that down. The Iranians are actually coached by Carlos Queiroz, who used to coach Portugal back in 2010. They will be doing that, and he's in terms of defensive tactics, he's really, really good. They don't have enough firepower to be really too much in terms of scoring goals. So the Moroccans, again, I'm a little bit iffy on the Moroccans, but based on what I've seen in the last few games, I'm actually a little more confident than what I was because I see a lot of that this team is better than the one that won the Euro 2016.
Yes, definitely. Because, like you said, there's no third place, right?
Because, there's no third place, but it isn't a team based off of, like, for example, like they just played 3 friendlies. Ronaldo only played the last game against Algeria.
More depth.
The game was, I shouldn't say the game was, could have been 5-6-0. And Algeria still has they had Brahimi, who plays for Porto, was a good player. Leicester City's Mahrez and Slimani, that plays for Leicester City. Some pretty good players there. The Spanish, to me, will have some issues in certain positions. PK at the back, I think his foot speed's getting worse and worse. Again, counterattacking against the Spanish might work in terms of, again, his foot speed getting caught up by fast attackers. Don't know what's going to go happen with Dani Carvajal. At the front, Diego Costa's never really worked out too well for the Spanish. They don't have Morata. They're counting on Iago Aspas, or they might go with that false 9 situation they do. So they have their issues amongst themselves. Are they the most talented? I like Asensio, Real Madrid guy.
Is he going to start for them?
He probably won't start, but he'll probably be one of the first subs.
That's one of my favorite. Him and
Isco, Thiago. They definitely have the squad. There's spots where you can kind of get them a little bit. So I'll stick the Spanish to go in on goal difference, and I'll take the Portuguese in second place because I gotta do that. The Moroccans, I am a little bit inferior than the Moroccans, but again, in terms of their scoring capabilities, I don't know.
That's the thing though, but we saw that even when Costa Rica played Italy, whenever that was last World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to score too many goals in this tournament to advance. Just to advance, right? Like you advance, you win one game, you wouldn't get 1-0 on a counter, whatever happens.
Again, the African teams want to qualify for these. They don't play the highest competition. Like when the groups are drawn, I got a lot of Moroccans. I'm on Twitter. All the Moroccan guys on me. Oh, you watch out for Moroccans, and I get that. But you're not playing freaking Cape Verde or Guinea or whatever. A lot of those groups are pretty. Even the Ivory Coast isn't what they used to be.
Yeah,
those are pretty easy. Those are easier groups to qualify for, in my opinion. So again, it all depends on quality of play. Like Saudi Arabia, if they have to go through Europe, they're not making it through Europe.
No.
Yeah.
For all these countries, even Australia. Okay, so I'm gonna ride with Spain. I do like obviously Portugal to finish second, but Spain I think Spain almost reminds me of obviously a better version of Argentina, where they don't have like their center backs are great, their defense is great in general, but even like the center mids and that, but they're attacking midfield, like all those guys they have up front, like
David Silva.
Diego Costa, I'm a huge fan of. I really like the guy. He's
Diego Costa.
incredible. Now, whether he's shown up for Spain before, maybe this is coming out party, right? Because there's not too many better pure finishers than him. But I just think that like they have too much, like I said, Thiago, Isco, Asensio. Like there's so many
Silva.
guys that are coming off the bench,
Silva.
and De Silva. Like they have just an embarrassment of riches. I think that are they going to win the tournament? Well, we mentioned those 4 teams: Spain, France, Brazil, and Germany. Like I think that those guys
are
are a
top
notch
tier,
above
top
everybody.
tier.
But I don't think they're going to have any problems until they run into one of those teams. Portugal, I like them. Like you know, being Italian, obviously not the biggest Portuguese fan, but I'm not going to
We
deny.
got
Like,
St. Clair
this
year.
is this is one of the best teams that they've had. Like since I've been following soccer for 10 years or whatever it's been, right? Like by far.
Our major concern is that as a center back because
Correct.
Pepe is aging, and then we got Font. Bruno Alves is also aging. Ruben Diaz from Benfica is a good player. He's not really trusted right now by Santos, so he'll likely be Pepe and Font. If Pepe gets injured or Pepe can't last, then we're in a heck of a lot of trouble.
No, their center backs are. That's the position that they don't have any depth, and I don't think their starters are even good enough anymore. Because you have a guy that's clearly past it. Pep is what, 34 now, 35.
Playing in Turkey, that's the
Still
sign.
play-
He's
still
playing
play
in
well.
Turkey. It's the league is where people go to retire basically. And then you have Jose Font's never been a top center back.
Oh.
He plays in China. Like how much competition does he have there?
One player
At the end of the
per
day.
team.
Pep still looks solid to me, but
Again, like he's slowed down a bit, and there's a reason why Real Madrid obviously got rid of him. Now, what I'm saying is, where you're mentioning how maybe Spain would be, PK wouldn't be able to take the foot speed against it. Maybe a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo does have speed, obviously, as well.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, but that's not his game anymore. He's explosive. He was explosive, and he still kind of is, but he's a finisher now.
sure.
The way that they play, a guy like, let's say, Bernardo Silva, he's not a silky dribbler. He's an attack. He's a better version of João Moutinho is now. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. But you have silky smooth guys on the ball, like Asensio, Isco, David Silva, and a guy like Diego Costa who's going to be a battering ram. There's a reason why Chelsea didn't finish top 4 this year.
They didn't have a good striker.
And who was their striker last year?
Costa.
And when they won the year before, when they went with Mourinho, Costa was there. He scored almost goals. So what I'm saying is, yes, he hasn't shown up for Spain, but there's always a time and place. In terms of center backs and defense for Spain, you have, in my opinion, the best holding midfielder in the past 10 years.
Busquets.
Sergio Busquets, who's a beast. You have Iniesta, okay, whatever, in front of him. And you have Thiago Alcantara there, who's absolutely fantastic. Iniesta's still not past. He's obviously not in his prime, but he's still a
He's
fantastic
still close
player.
to
Yeah, he's a good player.
And you have Jordi Alba on one side, who dominates that wing. He's fantastic going forward. Carvajal will play. You have an entire back line from Barcelona, Real Madrid.
Carvalho
What
doesn't
the
play.
problem-
Who's their guy? Who's
On the right hand side,
I remember Nacho Monreal probably.
yeah, they'll play Nacho. Nacho can play there, but I think Carvajal will make it. I can't see him not making it. Oh, they have Theo Hernandez too. They got a lot of good players.
Not like again squad depth. They definitely
But-
have a lot of depth.
You have between the two center backs, and I think David has top 3 goalies in the world. To be honest with you,
I would agree there.
you have Sergio, a 3 in a row Champions League winner, and an absolute beast. With another,
Those 2 center backs in the
they're-
keeper as good as it gets.
that's as good as it gets.
I'm not a huge fan of PK.
I know, but you
No,
gotta
but
get
as a trio, like as a trio, right?
give the
Like,
guy
to me-
respect.
I've never been the
To me,
massive
if you watch-
PK
if you
fan,
watch-
but
You watch a lot of the Champions League, you'll see that Carvajal's a little bit of a weak point there. Like again, Carvajal can be beaten on a lot of situations. So
But
they're strong.
who's
but they're not-
attacking on the left wing for Portugal? Is that?
See, here's the thing, like you mentioned Ronaldo's in the box. To me, I'm not worried about Ronaldo. Like to me, it's Ronaldo's isn't in the box. To me, based on what looks like it's gonna be a starting thing, it's Gedge. Gedge is probably as fast as Ronaldo was back in the day. That'll give PK some problems.
But they've played each other. They've played each other twice this year, maybe 3 times,
Yeah.
and it's always the same result.
It might come down to that one-on-one matchup, but you got to think they're going through the whole team as well. And set pieces and that kind of stuff, maybe.
Sure.
But, well, I think we said we want. Let's try and move on and get to the
Yeah.
next group. So we kind of agreed that Spain won, Portugal 2 for that. Group C, we have France, Australia, Peru, and Denmark. Big drop off between France and the next best team. We all have France there. I've said, maybe the best on paper team in the tournament.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
Depth wise,
Probably could field two teams like Spain and maybe even Germany.
The Germans and the Brazilians got a lot of depth.
Yeah, but Spain, they have the talent. Do they have the cohesiveness to win it all? That's another question. But who do you guys like finishing second in that group?
I'll go first.
Australia now. I'm gonna go Peru. I think Peru. Yeah, they got Guerrero back because the captain's allowed him to play after that cocaine incident. They've actually been undefeated in South America for quite a long time. To me, I think overall as a unit, they probably have the best unit. Though I like Denmark with Christian Eriksen, they got some decent depth. I'm going to take Peru to get out of there. And again, they actually might cause a few upsets. They might be one of those dark horses that do better than people think.
I thought I was going to be the only one that picked it, but I agree. I have France first and I have Peru second because I obviously with the captain, but if you actually watch them play, they're solid. They're absolutely solid. And to come out of a qualifying group with Chile, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil,
Venezuela,
there's like the perennial favorites that are usually there. Ecuador, Chile being left at home, and Chile was one
Copa America champions,
back to back, 2 in a row.
Set Argentina packing forever.
Yeah. So and for them to be coming out of Paraguay too normally.
Yeah, Paraguay's always there.
Another one that's at home, right?
Paraguay, yeah.
In that group, Australia, they remind me of like a better version of the U.S., but a little bit. I just think that.
No Tim Cahill.
Yeah,
it's been the first time in how many years?
Is he on the team? I'm pretty sure he's on the team.
Is he on the team? Well, he's definitely not playing much. He must be like 36 years old.
He's old.
He's old.
He's
old, but coach player.
If he's in good shape, then why not? But I just see Australia being in the same type of level. They play the same type of game as like a cheaper version of England or like that kind of rugged, very physical style, like they do how the U.S. plays, and like those more Anglo-Saxon type of teams.
Tim Cahill, 38 years old.
Yeah, he's on the team.
Left Melbourne. Well, we're not sure.
38 years old on the team?
38. Well, I don't know if he made the team.
He's on the team.
He's on the team.
I'm telling you, he's on the team.
38?
Said he left Melbourne soon, returned to England in January.
What kind of depth they have.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
I just can't see them pulling anything out. They don't play attractive football. The Socceroos. I mean, they have the surprise stories. They did come out of they qualified out of an Asian group that was very, very soft.
It's always soft.
And it is what it is. Denmark, man. I mean, they have some very, very good players. Obviously, Christian Eriksen comes to mind. I think he's one of the best players on the planet, and I think he will end up in one of the bigger teams eventually, whether it's Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, whoever. I think he's a phenomenal player. They have some good depth. They have the guy who plays for Sevilla. I can't remember the top of my head what his name is now. Kel something. I can't remember his name. He's a good player too. Simon Kjær at the back. I can't remember who the goalie is. I just don't see them.
Well, it looks like their keeper is Jonas Lasso from Hunters.
Yeah, I mean they have
It's
guys.
Leicester's goalie. I'm not sure.
Schmeichel.
I literally just can't see them. Obviously, and Bender's not playing, so that's a big loss.
Lord Bender.
But they have.
Is he injured? Just didn't make the team.
No, he's injured.
He's
He
injured.
wasn't able to recover.
I just can't. They don't have enough depth in order to. And like they have the center back from Chelsea, was that guy Andreas Christensen, and I don't think he's that great of a player. I don't know how he starts for Chelsea. He's young. I just think in terms of the quality of ball, like I think Peru's had so much more to prove, and they had so many better teams to play along the way that they're gonna come in second place. But hey, that game against France, I think that France and Peru game is going to be a lot closer than I think.
It might be a draw.
I can't see it being a draw. I think it's going to be a hard fought win for France, but that's really going to test that's going to help France, I think, push them on in the tournament.
I just think when I'm looking at this group here now, Australia I think is probably going to finish fourth, but Peru and Denmark probably there's not really a solid two there. I have Denmark going on, but between both those teams, I wouldn't. Sounds crazy, but if France were to finish second in that group,
yeah, I can't see it.
Oh, like I said, out of those top four teams with France, Germany, Brazil, and Spain, I think France is number 4 in that tier. Not in terms of talent, just in terms of playing as a team. I don't know.
I can't.
Well, I mean, there's questions with
is Matuidi starting? I don't even think he's starting, right?
I think they got Conte, so probably gonna start.
Well, it depends on formation they play. They have so many different options that it just depends where they're gonna play. In the Euro final against Portugal, They played 4-2-3-1.
They didn't score a goal, right?
So it was 4-2-3-1, and you had Pogba beside it. Was it Kante? I believe it was Kante.
Yes.
And I don't know if Dimitri Payet played in that game.
Payet did.
He
He
did. That was his
injured
coming up party, yeah.
he injured Ronaldo. I remember him clearly. Yeah,
Well, you
Payet
know
Payet
that
played.
these lineups mean nothing, but they have Conte with Pogba, Matuidi, and then Griezmann, Mbappe, and Giroud there.
Okay, so for one, they didn't have Kylian Mbappe in that tournament.
No,
And they didn't have Ousmane Dembele, and they didn't have a lot of other guys.
Mhm.
So if you
Tolisso,
go,
too.
sorry,
Tolisso.
Toliso's a really good player as well. So he, even there at the time, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Dimitri Payet. Never have, never will be. In terms of the squad selection for France, I think leaving Rabiot at home and some of these other guys like
Martial.
Laporte, guy who just signed for Man City for big tons of money. Martial did not play this year. I have no doubt he's a great player, but if you're not playing consistently, you're not going to the World
I
Cup.
think got him two or three years ago from
Kingsley
Monaco.
Coleman, I thought was really good buying him, but he doesn't play either.
That's the problem.
To be
all
honest with
these
that,
guys-
he's very hit and miss. That guy. I think for me, he's a depth player. He's never a starter.
Coleman?
Coleman will. I don't think he's
well,
just
on
a
an
super
elite
sub.
team. On
Yes,
an elite team.
on a subpar team he can play. If you start with the goalies,
Thomas Lamar too. Like
Lamar is a really good player.
Yeah.
He's a very, very good soccer player. I just think that in defense, when you have Umtiti, who do they have beside him? Shelley's injured. Okay, so
Moran Didier.
if they don't get injured,
That's a good back.
if they don't get injured, the back line is stellar. Is it the best in the tournament? I don't think so.
Oh, it was one of the better ones. Though.
But they're the core group of players. So, but based on what I was saying before, it depends on formation they play. If they play the same formation they played against Portugal, which 4-2-3-1, where they had Pogba beside, where he plays for Manchester United, he plays beside Conte, and then you have the three attackers. You had Griezmann coming back to receive the ball from Pogba, which made no sense. So France was their own worst enemy in that game against Portugal. It's a game of millimeters. Personally, I really thought that was in the bag. That was in the bag. That was for their
At home.
Truthfully, the best player for the French, in my opinion, that day was freaking Sissoko, who was not even on this team.
Yeah.
Sissoko was the best
we
player.
talked about Sissoko when he was
So
at
Sissoko was
Newcastle
just
a
charging
few years
runs.
ago,
Sissoko was hard to
a
handle.
beast, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which is again, they went away from the entire
Good change.
all the tactics that went into getting to the finals. The team that beat Germany, the team that beat who did they beat the round before that? I can't remember. Iceland, which is whatever. But they have enough firepower to win the whole tournament. It's just a
They do.
mentality thing for them. There's just, and if you played Conte, Pogba, if you put Pogba in a role where he can flourish, I think personally, besides Messi and Ronaldo, he's the best player in the tournament. He can be. He can be MVP of this tournament.
Now they're saying that he likely won't even start.
That's crazy to me. That's absolutely
He's
insane.
Because
playing over him.
Because so basically, like Tolisso, they have Tolisso well ahead of him on that track. The problem with Pogba, like when they played Italy in the recent fixture, he was the worst player on the field.
He was. I did see that game.
And the problem is that they have him starting on the left, and same play that he does on Manchester United, and that is he does not. Like we had this discussion, he does not flourish there. And right now,
He
the way that
needs to be
there's, he needs
He needs to be upfield.
He needs to be upfield. He needs to be more and more centrally. That's where he thrives. In that position, he hasn't been like for Manchester United for under Deschamps' system. He hasn't been playing well. So if he doesn't start, it wouldn't stand me.
Juve, he played further up.
Well,
Back
they
then,
had
Pirlo still, right?
Marquisio, Pirlo.
They had Vidal beside him. They had Marquisio beside him. They had Marquisio, Vidal, and Pirlo both beside him. Sometimes they played Vidal more up front, but he didn't have. He still worked hard in that team. But also behind him, he also had Bonucci, Chiellini, Barzagli. You had a guy like Buffon. But again, tactically wise, he still worked hard to get the ball. But they allowed him to push upfield. Nobody knows what his responsibilities on the field. It's wrong to coaches at the end of the day. If you only it's literally having like he's a thoroughbred, that guy. He's an absolute beast, and to keep him centrally like that,
You like have handcuffs on him.
you have handcuffs on him at the end. But it's crazy because you have two guys who are the most hardworking players in the world beside him, which are Matuidi and Conte.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still holding him back. Maybe it's Pogba holding himself back. I don't know, but from what I've seen, he's been half the player he was at Juventus. He was at one point the most expensive signing in the world. Let's be honest here. It was 2 years ago.
He's got all the qualities. Just again, like some of these guys lose a lot of confidence.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they get paid a big ton of money, like I told you.
Remember Ronaldo 2 years ago in the Euros, everyone thought he was going to be a big deal. look at him now.
I think the fame went to his head, and I think he stopped working hard.
Sanchez, Renato or Pogba?
No, listen, he's not even tournaments. We're talking about
Well, there you go.
Pogba. Like,
That's what I said. I
You
mean,
know-
too much money, too much fame, too many
Yeah,
Instagram
You
videos.
make moves that don't work out well for you.
it wasn't.
His mind wasn't focused on.
He
the
was, he's
field.
not. He wasn't humble. I think maybe he's starting to be humbled now and start to realize that
He's
maybe
not,
like,
he's not regarded like he used to be.
well, not that he's regarded, but at some point it's like you're gonna get benched and you're gonna get sold, and you're gonna become a second-rate player at this point because you're wasting your career. Like there's a certain point where you technically you can't get better, right?
They give him one game. My opinion, he might start the opener. If he stinks, he'll be pinned to the bench for the rest of the tournament.
And France, I can't see France going too far if you, well, who knows, Tolisso and guys like that. But let's move on then. Sorry, so I did have Denmark, and I was saying that Peru and Denmark, I think that's going to be a grind out kind of thing. And if guys like Pogba don't show up, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if either Denmark or Peru steals a point from France. I'll beat them, but
I can't see.
You think that France is going to go undefeated?
Yes.
3 wins.
You have to. I can't see them losing a game in this group.
No, not losing. You think that they drop
Well, I
points?
mean, I can see-
No, I
see.
see them winning every single game.
I see one
Depending on
draw.
well, again, you know how it always plays out. If the French were to win the first 2 games, and depending on what the other results
Or
are,
they might not need to
they
win.
might roll off the substitutes and not care about the third game.
I think even with substitutes, they win the
Yeah,
last
because
game.
they're so
Possible,
deep, right?
possible.
But yeah, I'm gonna say that they get 7 points and still win the league, win the group. So okay, so let's move on to
Group D.
This group-
Igor. It's messy.
This is.
It's messy.
Again.
The little guy.
Little guy.
I'll ask the question here: is this the group of death of the tournament?
My opinion, yes.
How about those Nigerian
Because
kids, by the way?
to me, there's again, while it's not possible, all four of these teams, it wouldn't stun me if they actually advanced. All 4 of
I
them.
can see that.
Because the Niger again, you don't know what you're gonna get out of the Nigerians. Again, personally, everybody has most people have the Argentinians finishing first. I do not. I've seen a lot of the Croatian team, and if you look at the Argentinians, you mentioned South American qualifying, they had a horrific time.
Yeah.
Horrific.
They barely made it out.
It literally took a messy hat trick on the final day to get them through.
It was hard to say that, wasn't it?
And again, the little guy played well. Again, I think Ecuador kind of threw in the towel because they were already out. Had they played somebody that needed to win the game, I think the thing with them is they have perhaps the best attacking depth of the whole tournament with Higuain, Di Maria, Dybala from Juventus, who just can't play in with the Argentinians.
Did Icardi make it after that injury
No.
to Lanzini? Who'd they call it?
I don't know if they called anybody up yet.
No,
Because then it's between him and the Roma attacker. I don't remember his name.
Who? Perotti?
Perotti
They'll call
was the
Perotti
other guy.
out of.
Yeah,
Icardi.
Icardi has some issues with.
Mental
I
health.
heard. I don't know if it was that. I heard some situation about like there was some kind of relationship situation
Yeah.
with somebody's
Actually,
wife back in the
I
day.
can explain it. So Maxi Lopez. So when they were on
Yeah, there you
Sampdoria
go.
together, and Maxi Lopez,
I
and he was
remember
dating
that.
Wanda Nara.
Isn't that his wife now?
I'm just running the story. So
No,
when
that's
Icardi
Icardi's
came,
wife.
when Icardi came to Italy, they used to hang out all together. Long story short, now they broke up, and then Icardi started going after Max Lopez's wife. Now they're together, and Maxi Lopez had 2 kids with her. So now Icardi has a kid with her too, and Maxi Lopez's kids are wearing fucking Icardi shirts, which is crazy. Like, so it's actually like insane. It's an
Wags.
insane story.
Wags, what are you gonna do?
And she's his agent.
There you go. You got it all wrapped up.
That's
So-
why he's not on the team.
That reminds me of the other guys real quick with The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. When they come in the story, he's like, I got a story about somebody's
Well,
name.
the-
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Shut up! He's like, he came with a dream. Arnold Schwarzenegger! And he's like, shut
So
up.
the Argentinians, their biggest problem to me is that the back end has some issues. Otamendi, we talked about Fazio. They're vulnerable. Like Rojo might start. He's terrible in Manchester United.
He was good a few years ago.
A
wasn't
few
he?
years ago for
But
Sporting.
they play him as a center back in Manchester United. The guy is clearly not a center back.
True.
I can't.
The creativity in the midfield to me is also another situation that really isn't there. Mascherano's a good defensive midfielder. It's going to be one of those situations where Messi's going to pick up the ball at the start of the half again. My opinion.
But like, yeah, that's a problem that I was gonna say. That
The problem is-
if you're, whether it be Pogba or someone else, because you've ragged on Messi for not having the best tournament last time, which he didn't.
No,
right?
no, he had a good tournament, but like he
In
won.
the final.
He won. He won player of the tournament without scoring a goal on the knockouts That was crazy to me.
Yeah, that was that's
That should have gone to a German
What
easily.
what I was going to say is that when anybody's playing out of their position in any sport, it's hard to succeed when you're doing that. And if he's a guy that's up front, he's having to go through the whole team.
No,
How
but
much do you have left at the end?
understood. But again, it's a team game, and there's 10 players out there.
And Higuain struggles for Argentina. There's other guys that struggle.
It's a very mental game. Like soccer is 80% mental and 20% physical. To be honest with you, it's if your team plays the right way and you move the defense out, it's like chess. So at the end of the day, it's like you literally can clear the entire field to go to net. The good thing about Messi is that he dribbles people like crazy. But you're saying that they're
very individualistic.
totally understand.
One Aguero, forget about Aguero.
But this is not in club football. You have more time to play as a team. When you're playing international football and you're only getting 2 or 3 weeks to be together, that individual quality will get you to the next level. It'll get you through certain games. Fair assumption is that both teams are not. Well, that's the good thing about, like, let's say, the bad thing, let's say, about Argentina is they don't all play together, minus Higuain and maybe Dybala for you, man. But you have the best player in 1A and 1B. Let's say best player maybe of all time.
We're gonna get into that LeBron and Michael conversation again. Okay.
So, but in terms of defensive strength, I think Otamendi and Fazio are good enough.
I don't think so too.
Personally,
for a tournament.
Personally, in terms of their, I don't even know who their fullbacks are.
Exactly.
I think it's Mercato, the guy from Sevilla, who's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they have a guy on the other side. Who's this guy over Tagliafico? But they have another guy. I don't know if Raul will actually play there. But in midfield,
Okay. Mascherano.
yes, who's a little bit older now. I don't understand. I get why I don't play him because they don't have anybody else. But you have Bilia.
He doesn't really play all that much for Barca anymore, does he?
No, he's in China now.
Oh,
He goes to China in January.
Oh, I missed that.
In January this
In
year?
January, he said why he makes big money there too.
Yeah.
But again, it's only, I think, to win the tournament is what, 8 games, 7 games to win the whole thing. Those guys stay healthy and they have you kind of manage. But having, and it depends what formation they play. Because if they literally would just say, drop 2 midfielders, just only have 2 midfielders, which would be Mascherano and Bilia, and you play like a 4-2-3-1 or whatever the heck that they do at the end of the day, or maybe you have some guys out, maybe just a guy in front of the defense that cleans up like Mascherano. If you have, let's say, Di Maria, Messi, Higuain up top or Aguero, and I don't even.
Is Dybala going to start?
No, Dybala plays where Messi does.
He doesn't. Yeah, that's the problem with the Argentinians. They don't even have a spot for him there.
But you also have a guy like.
And Di Maria's kind of falling off too.
You have a guy like Lo Celso, the guy who plays for PSG, and who starts for PSG in midfield. So now you have a new guy that's introduced into midfield. That's got some spark. You have that dude. You got Mascherano, maybe Bilia, and you can actually play. When Real Madrid first won the Champions League against Atletico, the one where under Ancelotti, Di Maria played as a left midfielder, inside midfielder for Ancelotti, and he was phenomenal. That was the same year that they lost, 2014, when they lost the finals against Germany. He got injured before that game. If he plays that game in that role, it could be a different game. He was incredible that year. It just depends on who shows up, for me personally. Back to Cardi not being on the team, you don't need him. You have Higuain and you have
a lot of strikers.
and you have Aguero.
You know what? I might even take him over Higuain though, especially with all the misses.
Higuain's got a lot of tenure in the team too.
Yes, he does. And his hold-up play is also fantastic. And Icardi's a box striker. They don't play with a lot of crosses. They don't have big dudes. They're, So for me, let's talk about Croatia now, actually, to be honest with you. I think Croatia, they're always a dark horse. They always say he's a dark horse.
This is their last run with the core that they have to.
Agreed, yes. But they do have...
Mandzukic.
Their midfield is phenomenal. They have...
Maybe the best, one of the best.
Yeah, I would say top 5 in the tournament for sure. Maybe top 3, to be honest with you. Because they have, it's not only Rakitic and Modric. You have Milan, Badel, Brozovic, and you also have Kovacic from Real Madrid, who doesn't get enough playing time over there.
Yeah, does not.
And in terms of strikers, with Mandzukic, Perisic, who's the other guy that they'll be playing there? They have Kramaric too, which he's a very good player as well.
Oh, Hoffenheim, yeah. Kalinic, did he
And,
make it?
yeah, I don't know.
He's
No, I'm a big fan.
Was he that guy? No.
My problem with them is in defense. Their center backs, that Mattia Vida, I believe his name is Vida, sorry,
And Lovren.
and Lovren, who's not the greatest player in the world. Div Chorluka, who's like, what, 32, 33, ex-Tottenham on the wing. And I can't remember who's on the other side. I want to say it's Dario Serna, who's 36 as well.
I don't think it's.
I'm pretty sure it's Serna, to be quite honest.
Might be.
There's some other guys down there.
Milan Baldo, they have
But
Mitrovic.
here's the thing.
Oh, Strinic. Sorry. Or Recycle, the guy who plays for Atletico. He's good, but it's the problem with Croatians is that even the game against Portugal, again, let's bring it back to the Euro 2016.
That's what Kodashma got the winner.
That was, didn't they lose in PKs?
No, we beat him. But
In the last minute.
Kodashma scored in the last minute.
And that was probably the worst game I've ever seen. It was the most boring game of soccer because nobody went forward. And we're talking about a team that's got some of the best attacking players in the world. And you're telling me you can't score a goal against a team that's they're literally playing defensive football with offensive players, which makes no sense to me. Now, if they can put it all together, they can probably finish in the semifinal. Guaranteed. I guarantee they can go to semifinals
Best
if
case scenario.
if they actually are on the same page and actually play the way that they're supposed to. Because their problem is always their mentality. It's either some sort of fight in the group, or something happens that throws them off, and there's no plan B. They're just under pressure. They just can't do it.
Well, I mean, semifinals, depending on where you have them in. If you go to D2, you probably play the French, and then I think they'd be out against the French, depending on where you have them.
Depending on where you have them. So in terms of that, let's actually talk about Iceland and
That's what I was
Nigeria.
gonna
To be
say.
honest with you.
So Iceland, if you're talking about, again, first and foremost, smallest freaking population in the whole freaking tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys,
Which is phenomenal.
Which is
phenomenal what they do.
they play as a team, and that's to me is they lack individualism. Like Sigurdsson was a bench warmer. Was a bench warmer at Tottenham this year.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. They have that team mentality where they defend well. They gave problems to a lot of big teams. Portugal, England. They beat England, though again, depending on what you think of the English.
They also beat Croatia in their qualifying.
Exactly. So like those guys aren't like they're not there to make up the numbers. Did they take points away from the Croatians and Argentinians? Tough, but it could be done. So they're not and the Nigerians, again, it all depends on what you think of Victor Moses, my boy John Obi Mikel from back in the day at Chelsea. They have a fast, quick team. It's a pretty open group in my opinion. Like the Argentinians will be seen as the favorites based on their attacking, but they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable.
But if you look at what everyone's saying, they're still saying Argentina's favorites, and a lot of people
Based
are.
on Messi and
But-
so forth.
You read Sports Illustrated, some of these people don't even have them come out of the group.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you be favorites but not come out of the group as well? It's so
Well, because you mentioned it, right? Like it's based on you think on individual talent.
yeah.
They have the best individual talent, but do they have the best team?
Midfield, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the fear is that the Argentinians will take their form from South America against these type of teams, and they'll be in trouble.
But I will give the Argentinians as well. They have Sampaoli now, who was the coach of Chile for the past 4 years, and look what he built there.
True,
So it's
but they were also a much better balanced team.
yes, but you
Vidal,
you have
they don't have
Vidal.
Vidal in there.
Really, you have Vidal and Sanchez. You have, and then the supporting cast. I really
Solid
don't.
at the back.
I really don't think. I think that this Argentina team is better than that Chile team. To be honest with
Is
you.
this Argentina team better than last World Cup Argentina team?
I mean, if you look at it, the majority of the
It's the same-
of the
it's
big,
majority
of
of
the
the
big
same
name of the big name guys are just 4 years
Their
older.
age, that's what I'm saying.
Which means you would think that they'd be lesser, and some of them might be in their prime. But then again, you look at guys like Di Maria; he's gotten a little bit downhill. Aguero had an up and downs for Manchester City because Gabriel Jesus took a lot of his playing
In
time.
City, you don't really.
You got also injured a lot this year. too.
Higuain didn't have the best year, I guess, for Juventus. So they're probably not as good as they were there based on the individual season.
Maybe they pull.
But a guy like Dybala, if they can get him in there, he can be a difference maker.
Yeah, I think if I just
So the problem is that there's so much attacking and not enough spaces.
yeah, I just can't see Dybala playing over Messi, and I can't see them playing together.
But
But-
is he going to touch the field though?
No,
I think
he'll
it'll-
touch the field.
I think if they
Yeah.
I think if they there's two scenarios where Dybala will play. Scenario A is if they've already won the first two games and they want to rest Messi for the third one, they'll
Makes
play
sense.
Dybala. I think second scenario is worst
Panic
case.
mode.
Panic mode. You got to throw on. We put Messi and Dybala on at the same time to see if they can make some magic happen because he is a phenomenal player. Watching him week in week out, I think he's got some growing up to do. I think he's a little bit inconsistent, but when he's on the ball, he is a world beater. The guy is fantastic.
I was a big fan of. I don't know if Pastore made the team or
No,
not.
he didn't.
He didn't make the team.
He didn't make the team.
Yeah, I see. A couple of years ago, he was
was
also a
very
very good
happy
player.
to-
Yeah.
He is a good player. I just think
He never made it. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let's go through. We got to get
Oh,
through
yeah,
this
what
thing
are
here.
you doing? What are you going with?
Let me just go through here. D. I had Croatia 1 Argentina 2.
wow,
See, I actually took the same thing.
really?
I took the Croatians, and again, it's
I think you
yeah.
did.
Again, it wouldn't stun me again if the Argentinians were to drop out. But to me, like they'll have enough individual talent. There'll be some messy magic as much as you don't give them any credit. They'll get the issue with that though. The issue with that though, they finished in second. That's a France matchup.
That's
in the
what I
next,
was
the
just
next
gonna
thing,
say,
and that's a
France-Argentina.
big problem in my opinion. Because I think the French would have given them a lot of problems.
Of course. I have to go against. I'm going with tradition here. I'm going Argentina first and Croatia second. But I
Iceland maybe.
I have a huge feeling. I think Argentina will beat Iceland. I have a feeling that Iceland will give Croatia a ton of problems because they know each other. They've played each other twice already in high stakes situations. I think Nigeria goes home in fourth.
But they're probably the best fourth team in this tournament.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I think the Nigerians in a lot of groups
Yeah,
can cause some
yeah.
damage.
I totally. I mean, if let's say you put Nigeria in maybe like group. I think you put them in group A and they finish
They
second.
might win. Yeah.
They finish
Like a
second or
winner,
first in
yeah,
the group.
Yeah.
But-
Even in Group G, they might have a chance. Okay, so we made our picks here. Let's take just a 1 second water break. We'll come
Yeah.
back in 1 minute. We'll get through the second half, groups E through H, when we return. I just want to make sure the cameras are going, camera time and everything. And you might want to check the clock.
It's 3:20. It's
Keep
3:20.
it rolling.
All right, let's keep this. No, that's okay. I don't care. Milan close the fuck.